Control account. This is our topic, and in this module we will learn about the format of sales ledger control account or debtors control account. In the last module, we discussed that for big organizations, there are so many customers which are controlled by a one single ledger account which we prepare in the main ledger. And that one single ledger account is known as, which is representing the customer's transactions, is known as debtors control account. There are so many names that we can give to this debtor control account, which is also known as sales ledger control account. Why? Because these debtors are in fact created because of credit sales. Therefore, we name it as sales ledger control account. Then we also call it as total debtors control account, because this control account is representing total debtors. And we also call it as sundry debtors control account. These all are just different names for one single item. Okay? So if these different names are used somewhere, don't get confused. You know that debtors control account is named as sales ledger control account, total debtors control account, sundry debtors control account, and trade receivables control account. We know very well that debtors are in fact the trade receivables. Okay, the receivables which are generated because of having trading. Okay, so the format of this debtors control account would be somewhat like this. First of all, we know that this is asset in nature. Okay, so since it is asset in nature, its opening balance, which is the debit balance, will be placed in the debit side. And its closing balance, which is the debit balance, will be placed in the credit side. This we know very well. This is not new information for us. And now, whatsoever the reason which is causing increase in debtors would be placed in the debit side, and whatsoever the reason which is causing decrease in the debtors control account would be placed in the credit side. Well, let's see. When we do credit sales, these credit sales cause increase in accounts receivable, so would be placed in the debit side. When we receive cash from debtors, it cause decrease in the accounts receivable, we will put in the credit side. Or if we receive checks from customers, or there are bill receivables which are accepted by the accounts receivables or the debtors, or we are allowing discount, or there is a bad debt, or there are sales return, especially the returns should be based on credit note issued. Okay, all these are causing decrease in the debtor's balance. Well, if we have received more cash from the customer and now we have to give them refund, that refund will appear in the debit side. In fact, this relates to the collection that we have made more than the amount due, that we will refund to the customer. Then if the checks which were received from the customers are dishonored, so its reversal effect will be in the debit side. These two are sort of reversal effect. And in the same way, if bill receivable which were accepted by the debtors are dishonored, these bill receivable will cause an increase in accounts receivable or debtors balance once again. And because of any reason, if we are charging interest to the debtors, again, it will cause an increase in the balance of the debtor. All right. So all these items are pretty much clear to us, and we are satisfied with all these things. Now, few more items in this that I have to discuss in detail. First one is contra. Okay? This contra or set off or balance transfer thing. If there is a contra balance or set of balance against the creditors, that will always create a fall in the debtor's balance, so that should be credited in debtor's account. Well, this is also clear. And now, something unusual. Yes, this opening credit balance and closing credit balance. The thing is that this is something unusual. I have discussed this issue over here as well, that normally debtors have debit balances, opening debit balance and closing debtor balance. But the thing is, sometimes there could be some debtors from whom we have received in advance. Okay? Since this control account is representing so many number of debtors, there is a possibility that one or two or few debtors, they have paid us in advance, or in a way we have received advance from those debtors. Look, those debtors would remain our customer. We cannot push them out of this debtor's family, but we have to show them that these are credit balances with us. So if in the beginning those were credit balance with us, that will be appearing in the credit side, and their credit balance on closing date will be appearing in the debit side. So this thing I am reiterating in this blue area once again, that if debtors control account, our opening debit balance will be placed in the debit side, and opening credit balance will be placed in the credit side, although it is unusual. And closing balances, we know, are always placed in the opposite side. If closing debit balance will be placed in the credit side, and if closing credit balance will be placed in the debit side. So the important tips to remember in this module are that opening balances are placed at their own natural side. Debit balance opening in the debit side. Opening credit balance in the credit side. Okay? Whereas if it is closing balance is always placed in the opposite side to its nature. Like if closing debit balance, it will be placed in the credit side, and closing credit balance would be placed in the debit side. So learn it by heart, and we will discuss all these details through practice questions again. Thank you.